Today for anyone that's just starting, kind of getting lost within the pentatonic. This is for Joseph specifically. Joseph DM'd me a short video of him playing, which any of you are more than welcome to do, and I can send you a video reply of what you need to work on. So Joseph and all of my other students run into the same exact problems with just starting the pentatonic solo, and that is having absolutely no direction with it because you just don't know. I mean, there's a lot to choose from. And one thing that I found very fascinating, if I could set this video up, is saying, well, I'm stuck in the first position, pentatonic, and I want to move all up and down the neck. That's actually not necessary now. That's going to make your guitar solos worse, okay? So let me explain. We need a better foundation and more purpose for what you're playing within that first position, or even within just a couple of notes. If we start adding more notes, we literally start diluting the guitar solo, and it has even less structure, and it has less purpose, and it sounds worse. Like I always say, it just kind of sounds like a car, you know, with no driver, just driving all over the place. So let's bring it back down. Okay, let's attack the problem in the foundation. So the one thing that I noticed in Joseph, and you're playing, and a lot of other people's playing, this is great, this means that your ear is starting to develop, is we get a lot of this. Right? Always landing on that root note, which is great, because that has a very, very nice and safe sound, okay? So it makes sense to your ear. That's awesome. So let's take where your ear is at and let's start developing it a little bit more. Now, one of the main problems that everyone has, and what's going to help give you a little bit more direction, is actually taking a rhythmic phrase. We want your playing to be a little bit more rhythmic. Everyone does this. I call it the eighth note syndrome. Right? There's no repeating notes, there's no space, there's no rests, there's no rhythm. It's just this slew of eighth notes. Now what happens is when you start getting into that and you're not utilizing rhythm in a creative way, you're going to think that you need even more notes. Now this is, and Joseph, I heard you doing this, and I hear all of my students, they start adding notes that aren't in the pentatonic. Right? Really like kind of random notes, thinking like, oh, I need to add more, and then that's why, you know, a lot of people will say, well, I want to get to the second position of the pentatonic, and the third position, I want to get all over the neck. That's going to make it way worse. I'm going to give you an example. If I were to do this, no direction, okay? So now, second example. That solo has way more power in it, and I'm only using 3 notes, okay? Why? If I were to clap that out, rest, and then repeat. So the rhythmic structure and the rhythmic phrasing is something that we need to tackle first before any notes actually come in. Now, if I were to sit there with you and I were to clap out, you know, something, if we had like a you know, a rhythm going or a tempo, and I went to, you could clap that back easily. You know, no problem there. If I gave you that same tempo and had you clap, you know, back and forth and making up your own, still no problem. For some reason, when we get to the guitar, things start changing, all right? So what I want to do is, instead of adding more notes, let's take, I call it, it's almost like an ocean. There's just too much around you. There's no footing. You know, you're 10 feet, 10 feet deep. You can't touch the bottom. Let's bring it into something that you can actually handle. So let's just do what I was doing. 8 on the bottom string, 5 on the bottom string, 8 on the second string, and then 5 back on the first string. Okay, that's it. All right. If you can't come up with a creative space there for a certain amount of time, adding more notes is going to dilute whatever it is that you want to say. So let's just start there. I usually don't do examples because I kind of want to guide my students and then have them start picking it up on their own. But simple things to change it. Now, if I were to do something, this is going to be a little bit more rhythmic. So let's start with something rhythmic. If I were to do... same thing, and then change it. All right, just sticking to that and moving those notes around, ending on a certain note, not always ending on that home bass note, okay, and we're gonna get into that a little bit later. Just starting with that. Then after you do 4 of those, come up with another one. All right, simple. Now, this is where we get into another stage of this. That's 4 phrases repeating. What I want you to try is doing a phrase, an A phrase, and then a B phrase, and then repeat the A and repeat the B. Now, this is only rhythm, so it does not actually matter what note you're hitting. Even if you just hit, is totally fine with me. But let me show you what I mean. I'm going to give you an A, a B, back to A, back to B. If I did... All right, so that ends up kind of bouncing back and forth. That's going to give you now a little bit more creativity, and it's going to have a little bit more movement than just doing 4 repeating all the time. Now, to get into to something repeating, repetition, and not playing, resting, is a huge problem for guitar players. So I want you to really focus on that. If you guys listen to, guys like, Eric Clapton, going back to somebody more like Albert King and Muddy Waters, the amount of space that they're leaving is amazing. If you don't have that space, it's just going to sound like rambling. So I want you to work on that space. Now, when you hear somebody navigating through the whole guitar, all they're doing is taking exactly what I just showed you, or the principle of it. That's their foundation, and they're able to move it all over the neck. So let's do the same thing. We're just going to do it here. 3rd string, 7th fret, 3rd string, 5th fret, 4th string, 7th fret. That's it. Same idea now. That's an A and a B. So all right, same thing. Now, if I combine the 2, now I have a certain amount of rhythmic phrases I can choose from. All right, A, B, or just A, B, 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 however you want to put all that together. I have this part of the pentatonic. Now I have this part of the pentatonic, and you can start putting those together, but you have to attack it in these small little pieces and these small little phrases at first, okay? You can do this all over the guitar neck. So that's number 1, even if I did it down here. All right, it works absolutely everywhere. That's where I want you to start. Now let's move